Okay, so I promised I would do this. I've been talking about it for a while. Um, let me set this up first for you guys. So this is the massive, massive blow up that Alex had after an encounter that he and I had in Tom and Boxes. Okay. So what ended up happening was that there was a conversation about Toast, and it was whether he was considered to be a Nazi, not a member of like the party, but whether he displayed any of those behaviors that would be indicative of him being a Nazi, right? The colloquial definition of what a Nazi is. I disagreed with Alex. Alex's position was that he did. I said that he didn't. And then what ensued from that was a discussion between him and I. An argument is probably the better phrase. Okay, so what ended up happening was that him and I went into what I like to call gunslinger mode when arguments take place, where one person brings up a point, the next person brings up a counterpoint, and it's really quick. It's really quick. One person makes a point, the other person makes a counterpoint, and then it's a struggle on either side to control the conversation. Okay, so I know at this point that Alex is the type of person to try to control the conversation by over talking him or by over talking other people. Right. So what I did was I countered that by controlling the flow of the conversation. So, for example, when he would make a point, I would ask a question. And then right about when he was done, or just about done, maybe not completely done with the sentence, I would immediately ask him another question or bring up a counterpoint. He didn't like that. So at a certain point, he asked a question, and the question was something like this. Declan, do you believe that when people say someone is a Nazi, that means they're a member of the Nazi Socialist Party? And I said, no, right? And he went, oh! Just like that. Really, really pretentiously, really like in a self-entitled, arrogant manner. And when he did that, I said, are you going to stop acting like an 11-year-old child? And stop interrupting me, was what I said. It was something like that. Unfortunately, I don't have that conversation included. I don't have that recorded. I don't think anybody recorded that. So what ensued from that was we were going back and forth with insults, and then out of nowhere, Alex says something to the effect of, these behaviors, the way that you're acting right now, is indicative of why your wife was so happy when you left her, right? Now, at that point, I have two choices. I can either scream at him, or I can take the mature route and bow out of the conversation before I cause a massive blow up in Tom's server, okay? Now, keep in mind, I'm a mod, right? So I'm a mod. If I end up exploding, that's not only going to be immature, it's going to look bad on me. So I bow out of the conversation. Okay. Now, cut two. And I should probably mention this as well. In that conversation, when he said that directly afterwards, I said, "Go ahead, Alex. Continue. Go ahead and say what you're saying." And I called him a douchebag. And I said, "I want everyone in this community to see what a piece of shit you really are. I want the community to see it, so go ahead." I didn't cut him off. I said, go ahead and continue with what you're doing. Because I wanted people to see exactly the type of person that Alex is. Okay? So he continued, right? Doubled down, didn't back off. So I leave the conversation, okay? And then I message some people in the community, and I'm like, hey, so that I don't cause more trouble in the community with me being a mod, because I want to explode on Alex, I'm going to bow out of the conversation. Okay? Alright, now, cut two. What ends up happening is that there's a secondary conversation, and this is the conversation that you're going to hear, between Alex, Tom, Snugs, Dave and a couple other people about his behavior. Okay, so that's what we're going to listen to, and then I'm going to interrupt every once in a while with some commentary. So here we go.
Y'all are crazy.
Alex, you should apologize to Declan.
That's correct.
Thank you for the advice.
What happened between Alex and Declan?
We were giving each other personal insults, and I went too far, apparently.
That's the problem, apparently.
Well, I mean, here's my problem. People go on my, fucking radar too far sometimes, and you guys don't think it's too far. So this is just one of those times where you think I went too far, and I don't. So live with it.
We were all shocked that you...
I don't care. Look, all of this virtue signaling about me saying shitty
It's not
things.
virtue signaling.
You're saying it's bad. You ought to
What did he
apologize
say?
to Declan. I told him that it was indicative of his behavior to act towards me was indicative of his wife not being upset with him leaving her.
The fuck's wrong with you?
That's too far.
What the fuck's wrong with me? I don't know. Maybe I'm somebody who's been accustomed to personal insults that exceed, regular insults that you guys are used to over the years. And
So then you admit
So
that
that's
it's excessive.
why the fuck would I think it's excessive? I think you guys are biased, and
Now, let me pause here. Okay, so he says, why the fuck would I think it's excessive? Keep that in mind. You'll notice throughout this entire conversation that Alex flip-flops back and forth between multiple positions. He says, why the fuck would I think it's excessive? And then later on, he admits it's excessive, right? And then once he admits that it's excessive, he says, well, I'm just not interested in talking about that. I'm not interested in whether you think it's excessive or not. I agree it's excessive, but I just don't want to talk about that.
and you think that gay people deserve worse insults than other people because that's the way it
What?
seems. You don't complain when gay people get these types of insults, so I don't know why
I'm
when you give
gay,
a
you
personal
dumb
insult.
fuck. What are you
Ridiculous,
talking?
Alex.
What? How did Declan insult you? That crossed the line.
I didn't say he did.
Isn't that your whole fucking
You
defense
said
here?
you guys were exchanging insults.
Personal insults, yeah. You called me an 11-year-old child. Told me I couldn't keep up with conversations. I'm an idiot. Yeah, things like that.
It
So
just
what?
seems
Decided
like
to fucking bring up
regular
the
debate
worst
rhetoric.
that's fresh
Yeah.
off the fucking
So I
press.
said, so he's insulting me again and again and again. So I'm saying, okay, look, I can't have a conversation with this guy. I can't even talk because he won't let me and he's a mod, right? So I decided to allow him to know what I thought of him.
By the way, which is completely false. Completely false. The only time that he was ever modded in that conversation was when he had taken the stance that he was going to completely and utterly obstruct the conversation by over-talking constantly. That was the only time that he was ever modded. I didn't mod him immediately after he said what he said about my wife. Never did that. Not at all. Complete and utter lie.
Just because I wasn't allowed to talk. If he's not going to allow me to talk, right, then I'll just dish out personal insults. That's what I'll do. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And you guys coming up to me doing this is not going to sway me at all.
No,
So
but it's
just
too
keep it
much
up.
though. And just because you don't think so, it's not.
Just because you think so doesn't mean I give a fuck about the consensus.
Great, then you're just an asshole, I guess.
Yeah, just
Because
like
I
we
don't care about the consensus, I'm an asshole.
No, because you don't care about people's feelings enough in the midst of
I don't care about
disagreement
Declan's
that
feelings.
you don't know
I
what a
don't
fucking
care
limit is,
about
dude, that there's
Declan's
boundaries
feelings.
and shit.
I
Obviously,
wouldn't care
obviously you don't care.
if Declan wound up dead tomorrow. Would not fucking matter to me. Wouldn't.
Now this is the real Alex. Listen to what he just said. I wouldn't care if Declan wound up dead tomorrow. What kind of shit is that? Everyone in the community knows that I can't stand Shamos, right? Absolutely can't stand Shamos. But I would never say that about Shamos. I wouldn't say that about anybody in the community. Wouldn't care if Declan wound up dead tomorrow? Insane.
Bat a fucking eye. Right? Declan's been a shitbag to me since I got to this community. I'll treat him however I fucking please.
You mean I challenge your ideas? I challenge what you say sometimes? I've never once said anything about you being gay. I've never been homophobic to you. I think I've always treated you with respect outside of our disagreements. But I've definitely not been a complete shitbag to you since you got into the community. Now, you'll notice this, and there's another person that enters the fray on Alex's side who says that I'm homophobic, right? Now, what's interesting about this is that Alex, at one point, says that Declan was not homophobic in that conversation, and then says that Declan is not homophobic. I've not said it once. And it's not until this other person pipes in that he says Declan is a well-known homophobic asshole. I challenge anyone in the community, anyone, to provide evidence that I have said something in this community that was homophobic or done anything that's homophobic. What I think he's talking about, and the other person's talking about, is that I get in arguments with some people that happen to be gay or trans. That definitely happens. But that happens with a lot of other people that are not trans and not homosexual as well. So that doesn't wash.
And if you have a problem with that and want to fucking talk up against me, then I guess I'll just add you to the fucking list.
I
right?
guess.
Declan,
I mean, you can threaten that if you want.
Declan,
because I disagree with your opinion of other people.
Declan,
Go for it.
Declan, just know, because this is no secret to you. I've treated you like shit for ways you treated me in the past too.
And I
right?
forgive it because I'm stupid. You're right.
I'm not being a dick to you right now. I'm just explaining to you what my reasoning
no,
is.
you
So
just
if you're
threaten to do so if I don't say that I'm okay with what you did to Declan.
I mean, if you want to continue to like allow him to personally insult me and not criticize him, I mean, yeah, that seems to be the standard.
Whatever. You don't get it, so whatever. Or you're pretending
don't
not to
get it either.
So
Those
I'm not gonna
didn't
talk about it.
sound like personal insults. They sounded like regular debate rhetoric.
Personal insults aren't compromise of like excuse me. So the insults that he gave me about like me being an 11-year-old child, me being an idiot, not being able to keep up with the conversation, those aren't personal insults,
wow.
Dave. Yeah. What's oh wow, Tom, please.
I mean, that like really hurt your feelings?
Oh my god, shut the fuck up. I didn't say it hurt my feelings. You said I ought.
Now pay attention to that. I didn't say it hurt my feelings. Mark that in your head. I want everyone who's listening to this to mark that in your head. I didn't say it hurt my feelings.
Apologize to Declan. I'm saying I'm not going to because I don't feel like it, first of all. And second of all, he was a dick to me and insulted me. I don't care. Wow, Tom, are you gonna really hurt by your feelings? Fuck you, bro.
What's the problem?
What do you mean, what's the problem? Did I not?
Well,
do you not
when you
understand
say
what I just
fuck
said?
you, bro, and you sound upset, it seems like you have a problem.
I'm upset at you. Yeah, you just said, oh wow, Declan really upset you that bad? that's cute.
I mean, I don't. For almost everyone else in the server, that type of thing wouldn't even like move the needle.
What do you mean?
They're personal insults, but they're not like personalized insults.
That's what I meant.
Jesus
Seth,
Christ.
thank you. Like, it's not like Declan came up and was like, "Well, Alex, you and your boyfriend, blah 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 blah
You don't
blah
think
blah,"
it-
right?
You don't think like comparing my behavior to that of 11-year-old child is a personal insult?
Yeah, I think it's personal. I think it's
Okay.
beyond the scope of the debate. But
Great.
it's
I wasn't
a little
offended by it, and if you
it's
were
a little
there,
bit
you
different.
probably would have noticed that I didn't really give much thought to it.
If you
and I
weren't
didn't
offended
really-
by it, why did
It's a
you
little
just use that
different,
as a
though.
justifier for retaliation the way you did?
I'm sorry. What's the question? If I wasn't offended by it, you understand that things like can still be justifications if you're not offended by them. Yes. Like I could say someone could be a dick to me, I not be offended by it, but because they're a dick to me, right? I may want to be a dick to them back. You understand that I could still not be offended by that and still have a justification.
Well, do you
Don't know
find
why
yourself
that's so hard to
like,
believe.
you know, when someone holds the door?
What I'm
open for
really
you
upset
the
at more
gas
actually
station, do you
is
just,
all the
sometimes
virtue
randomly
signaling
think,
from you
like, oh,
guys.
you weren't a dick to me, so I'm gonna like tell you that I fucked your mom or something?
Yeah, it seems that all you're complaining about is me crossing a line of insult. Just saying I got a little too personal.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. Happens to me
Well, I
all
mean,
the
if
time.
you don't-
My advice to everyone in the community that has a problem with it, get used to it. Because it happens in Discord
No,
all
we
the
won't be
time.
getting used to it. We'll just
Okay.
get rid of you.
Okay, do it, Tom. Right?
I
I,
mean, if
talk
you're-
to people like that I don't want to talk to. Okay? He personally insulted me. Right? If you're not going to hold him accountable for his personal insults, right, and hold me accountable, that's fine. I want to be gone if that's the way you're going to treat community members. And fuck you on top of it. Right?
Alright.
He like, over and over again, time and time again. You're an 11-year-old child. You're an idiot. Whatever. Just constantly. Right? And I'm
what?
sitting there just trying to. I'm saying they went too far, Tom. That's what I'm saying. I was so offended by them. I was really, really offended by them. I was really.
Did you hear that? Remember when I told you to mark in your head when he said he wasn't offended by them? He does this multiple times in the conversation. What he does is he flip-flops back on questions that are asked to him to suit his position. And that's exactly what he did there. Now, you could say he was sarcastic or not, but later on in the conversation, JJ says, Did it hurt you what Declan said? And he said, yeah, well, when he called me an idiot, I felt really icky, right? It's because it suits his position. He flip-flops like 20 times in this conversation.
Really upset. I got really emotional. Yeah, I know. I was embarrassed of it, and I was hiding it. I was really embarrassed. I was really afraid.
I don't even know what's real now.
Okay, that's good. If your argument is just going to be that you went too far, right? I'm going to ban you for making an insult too personal, right? Then be my fucking guest. That's fine with me.
No, I never said that.
Okay, good. Then you have nothing to stand on to ban me.
No, you made it explicitly clear that you don't plan to change behavior in any way, and your solution is for other people to just quote.
You don't get to gauge what's a worse insult, Tom. If someone is insulting someone else and you don't want people insulting them, you should probably stop all insults, not the specific ones you don't like. Unfortunately, sorry, it doesn't work that way. I'm not going to sit here and be insulted, right? Here's your critique. Dumb down my insults, really? That's your critique? Make them less personal? How about we just stop insulting each other? What the fuck?
Well, you wouldn't be able to do that either, right?
If you had a standard, right? You think that I would have just pulled that out of my ass if he wasn't insulting me that entire time? Is that honestly your opinion?
Well, what's the question?
Do you honestly think I would have pulled what I said out of my ass if he wasn't insulting me the entire time?
No, I think you did it. It was a reactionary thing you did.
Yeah, you got your feelings hurt, so you attacked him.
Because of the insults. Yeah, okay, great.
What?
But it wasn't proportionate.
Right, exactly. That's what I've been saying the entire time. Did
you catch that? In the beginning, he says, well, why the fuck would I think it's proportionate? Now he says, yeah, that's what I've been saying the entire time. No, dumbass. You've not been saying it the entire time. You've just now flip-flopped on your position so it suits your position.
The argument you guys have against this is that it's not proportionate, right? You're saying, oh, we don't want... Insults are okay. Insults are okay. Just the bad ones are not okay.
There's
the
a
ones... Says who?
Says fucking social fucking everything. Says the fucking norms of fucking society.
Well, I didn't get that fucking memo, and the people that like trash me all the time on Discord didn't get that memo
That's
either.
How it works and
okay, Snacks. So again, gay people just get the fucking end of the stick that they want to get hit with all the time. That's fine. They take it.
About being gay.
Well, you're not listening. Listen to what I'm saying, dumbass. I said over. Shut up. I said over and shut up. I said over and over.
Did Declan once mention that you were gay?
I said over and over.
Did Declan once mention that you were gay?
You're getting locally muted. If you think you're going to dogpile me and I'm going to stand for it, I'm not,
you're
right?
So
if anybody wants to sit here and force a fucking narrative out of me, right? You're going to get fucking locally muted. Sorry. I like you, Dave. Never had a problem with you, but I don't know what the fuck this is right now. I'm not some fucking science experiment you're getting questions out of. I answer on my own accord, not yours, motherfucker.
Baby bitch right now.
All you have against me is that my insult was worse than his. Congratulations. It seems that all of you are the ones that are butthurt and not me. Fuck
yeah, but
off.
That's just like saying like some guy gave another guy a Charlie horse, and in response they bludgeoned their head in.
Oh yeah, I totally committed violence against Declan. I hit him. That's analogous.
And then you're
fucking
saying,
idiot.
Look,
if you're just gonna lie and chop
all
this up
you
to be
guys
something
are
it's
saying
not,
is that the guy.
I'll turn you down too.
Now listen to how he has absolutely no respect whatsoever for his interlocutor when he's talking to them, right? He interrupts multiple times. The same thing that he said I supposedly did. And you'll notice this throughout the entire thing. He completely cuts people off, does not let them finish their sentence, and then just goes off like a madman. He's completely unhinged. And by the way, the analogy that Tom just gave is analogous to the situation. He just doesn't know what an analogy is. An analogy is when you give a similar situation in which the same principle holds to the principle that's being spoken about. He thinks it's not analogous because Tom brought up a situation in which violence was used, right? It doesn't make it disanalogous because it's not the exact same situation.
You
Are you trying to
interrupted
paint me?
though.
Are you trying to paint me in an image that's false, Tom? Are you trying to make everyone think that I like assaulted Declan? What the fuck is this analogy?
No, you missed the part of the analogy. The analogous part is that they're both acts where pain was inflicted, right?
Yeah, on both sides.
Right.
Uh-huh.
But your response to it is all you're saying is that my insult was worse. Well, all the guy did with the baseball bat is just hurt the other person more.
Don't you know those little Palestinian kids threw rocks? Of course we had to missile them.
Laugh my ass off. You guys really making this analogous to assaults. Like, this is fucking hilarious.
The assault part, it could be
Look,
anything.
the only analogy here is the proportionality. I just find it funny you used in like the situation of assault to paint that, Tom. Seems very motivated.
Do you
Why?
really think that he's trying to say that you're
You
like violent? Is that what you think he's trying to say
I
with
can-
the analogy?
Why else would he say
Oh
bludgeon with
my
a bat?
God, because it's a fucking analogy, dude.
It's
And
not
about
analogy. It's not
inflicting
analogous.
pain. It's about inflicting pain and being differently proportioned in
I'm
response.
It's just
surrounded by
the
complete
analogy
fucking
just points
morons.
out
Real fucking
degree, and that
simple. Real
degree is
simple.
significant. So when you say all you're doing is pointing out degree,
You sound
it's
really
just
upset
silly.
right now, Tom.
I
You
don't
do.
think I do at all. I actually haven't even raised my voice.
No, I mean, like, you sound upset. Like, you don't usually like talk about this shit for this long. I mean, it seems like you're really upset by me insulting Declan. You should watch your feelings.
I'm not really particularly.
You said I should
really
apologize.
upset.
Why would you think I should apologize if you're not like inclined?
Why is this about Tom's feelings right now? Why
Well,
is
I
this
mean,
a really
I'm
fucking
upset,
topic?
right?
It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
I'm upset. Obviously, like all we're here right now. This decision making is because I'm upset. This is all my fault. I'm just trying to give Tom some advice. He's upset right now. He probably shouldn't be upset.
Why shouldn't he?
Okay, advice
Doesn't
taken.
make any sense.
Hey, you're welcome.
Anyways, I mean, if you don't want to, if you just want to like insult to that degree in the future, and you don't give a fuck what anyone else says, and you don't plan on making any changes, then I would just say that please don't frequent here.
Yeah, like for you to pretend that my last year or so in this place has compromised of things like happened last night, you're dishonest fuck, and I hate you. But other than that, I have nothing else to say, because if that's honestly your stance, that's not going to be a problem, because that was probably the first time it's happened in a very long time. Declan is a trigger for me. He said some things that I didn't like. Obviously, he insulted me. I insulted him, right? So if you want to fucking sit here and say that I do that often and like, oh, it's going to be expected that you do this often and we'll remove you if you keep doing it, be my guest. You all know I don't do that often, and you all know that he fucking insulted me over and over again.
Yeah, he doesn't do it that often. You'll see it and hear continuously through this entire conversation. When he insults Snoogs, who supposedly is his friend, right? Who's probably one of the closest people to him outside of JJ. The type of shit that he says to her is absolutely horrible, right? He doesn't do that often. No. Everyone in the community knows that he does do shit like that often. And he has always done shit like that often. He flies off the handle at a moment's notice and then tries to pull a low belt anytime that he feels like he's getting backed into a corner. That's his MO. When he feels like he can't defeat the argument with some form of logic or some sort of counter-argument, he goes for the low belt. That's his MO.
So if you don't want that to
didn't
happen to
say-
you, don't insult me. It goes for you
I
too,
didn't-
Tom. I'll do the same shit to you.
I mean, I didn't say anything about the frequency. All I was doing was addressing when you explicitly said, not changing, deal with it. No, people aren't just going to
This is nothing is different, Tom. I'm the same way I was 6 months ago as I was last night. If you would have done some shit like that to me 6 months ago, you would have fucking baited the same response out of me. Okay? So I don't know what the fuck you're asking me here. Like, I'm not gonna like when people prompt shit out of me like that, it's what's going to happen. I'm going to insult them if
So
they
you can't
insult
control
me.
yourself, is what you're saying.
Like, if you'd rather, if this is you asking me to like disengage with like a notorious member of the community, right? Like Declan, and like not respond to his insults, right? That's very big of you, right? But I'll try just for you.
No one is suggesting that you don't respond to insults. What's being suggested is that you do it in a way that's measured. There is a certain social contract that goes on between people. And this is typically an unwritten rule that when you're in a conversation with an interlocutor, especially in a community like this, there are certain things that you do not bring up. Okay? Dave mentions this later on. There are just certain things you don't bring up. There are things about Shamos, for example, I would never bring up, as much as I do not like the guy. Right? Why? It's because as much as I dislike him, I understand that he's another human being, right? And even though him and I have had our fights, and sometimes really bad fights, I would never want to bring up so personal as to hurt him in a way that would cause him any real emotional harm, right? Now, Alex's next question, when he brings this up later on, is tell me what degree, what would be similar to calling someone an idiot? I don't know, calling someone a dumbass, maybe? That might be similar, right? It's certainly not bringing up someone's divorce that's fresh on their minds. That's certainly not it.
So you can control yourself. Well, that's all we're asking for. That's good.
I controlled myself last night when I insulted him. I meant to make that insult. You think that was like uncontrolled? Fucking idiots.
Yeah, that's called equivocation, Alex. Look it up. That's called equivocation.
I'm so disappointed, right? Like, this is for someone like me who is constantly met with Shamos Dio characters, right? Constantly insulted with absolutely ludicrous things, right? And I have to constantly stand up for myself, right? Constantly. It is never that someone steps up for me when I fucking get insulted about being gay, get insulted for being a sex worker, anything of those fucking accord, anything to that accord. But now I insult someone that's in a personal quarrel in their life with their ex-wife, right? And you all just fucking lose your shit.
What in the fuck does that have to do with me? I'm not Shamos. I'm not Cake. I'm not these other people who supposedly insult you for being gay. I certainly have never fucking done it. So what the fuck does that have to do with me? I'll clue you in. It doesn't. You don't really care about this shit. It has nothing to do with you being gay. You pulled that card out of your ass because you thought it was going to give you some sort of edge in the argument. You thought because the community typically is more liberally minded, that people were just going to automatically buy into it because you mentioned the word gay. And unfortunately for you, that didn't work.
Do you understand why, to me, this is a little fucking wacky? I'm not saying that you stand by and let gay people be crucified, right? But for me, for me, who has to sit here and fucking hold my own 24/7, it's just a little funny when the ex-Calvinist has to have 10 people step up for him because someone made fun of him at his ex-wife life.
And by the way, I didn't have to have 10 people step up for me. I stayed in that conversation for a very, very long time. It wasn't until I saw it going to a place that it ought not go that I bowed out of the conversation. So it has nothing to do with me having to have 10 people step up for me. When I said, go ahead, I want people to see what type of person you are, it's because I knew later on this conversation would go up and your bullshit was going to be brought to light. That's why I did that. So it has nothing to do with me having to have 10 people step up for me. I've been in the debate scene since, 2006, 2007. Do you really honestly think, Alex, that because you gave me a little boo-boo about my ex-wife that somehow I have to have 10 people step up for me? No. No, that's not the way it works. I know you're self-entitled, and you're arrogant, and you're a narcissist, but that's not the way it works, buddy.
Who's dogging on you about being a sex worker in here?
Are you dumb?
Just who?
Really?
Yeah.
I
that's why
said
we're
the
out-
What's the
Shamos
server,
Dio like
Alex?
They're
characters.
not
Are
in
you?
here.
What does that
You
have to do
can't
with
think of
this?
Shamos Dio like characters that are in this server right now that do
Like
shit
who?
like that, like Concrete or
He's
like.
not here.
Concrete's banned.
I didn't know that. Regardless, it's not like these people. What's so funny?
Well, regardless what, your point is now done. So, I mean,
You're actually
Oh,
pointing
those
out that
people
all
are
the
banned for what they did to me. Is that what
you're
you're
actually
saying?
pointing out that you're mad about all these people, and you listed off every single one of those Shameless, Dio, and Concrete. They're all banned from here. So why are you holding us like culpable for not sticking up for you in like where those people aren't even allowed in
You
this room?
laugh my fucking ass off. This is a category error. You banned Shamos, Dio, and Concrete for reasons unrelated to them being homophobic. You fucking liar. So I don't know what the
I
fuck
never
you're
said that I
you're
banned
talking
them
about.
for, like,
So what's this?
insulting-
I stepped up for you. Like you brought characters up that like you said no one stepped up for you for, but they're banned. Like
no,
that's an
he's saying that the stuff you're claiming doesn't happen in this server.
yeah. You're out of your fucking mind. You're deaf.
you
People
You
don't
haven't
think
talk
named
like
that's
that
the
anyone
case.
here.
that's here that does that yet.
Excuse me. What?
You haven't named anyone here that fits that description.
You don't think
yet.
Skinny Pete's homophobic?
Really? You
No.
think that
Sometimes
Skinny
he
Pete-
says things that could be definitely interpreted like that. Yeah.
but
Thank you.
Do you think he gives you shit about being a sex worker? Isn't that what this was about?
Yeah.
This is about personal insults
You're reaching,
that
Alex,
you
you're
fucks
reaching.
think are too far, not me. Okay, so whatever
And-
you think is too far, think about real hard. Think about any time Skinny Pete said something fucked up to me, and you kept your fucking fat mouth shut. Okay?
Now, that's supposedly one of his friends that he's talking to, Snoogs. That's supposedly one of his friends. Now, remember when I said his MO is that when he can't defeat an argument, he's going to pull the low belt out? It's exactly what he did to Snoogs, just like he did to me. He doesn't know how to deal with this. So his way of getting back at you is to pull out a low belt in the hopes that the person will bow out of the conversation, because to him, he thinks that people bowing out of the conversation equals a win for him, right? That's an extremely immature way to look at debating. A person bowing out of a conversation is not a win necessarily, right? Because it could be that what they're doing is the mature thing, right? But you don't know that, Alex. You're 25 years old, 24, 25 years old. You don't know what you're talking about. And you obviously have no respect for people who have stuck up for you, like Snoogs. Who have been your friend, like Snoogs.
I've told him to stop with homophobic shit plenty of times, publicly
Keep
and
reaching
privately.
into the bag, Alex. You might find
Publicly
something.
and privately.
Sure.
So sure, I mean I did. So what?
So that means that you can
I don't
lash out at
believe you.
That means
Declan?
you could be a fucking complete and total fucking absolute abhorrent asshole to Declan. Like it doesn't make sense.
No, look, I'm not using this as a justification. I'm just painting
Yes,
like
you are.
something that's.
You are.
All right, can you shut your fat mouth, please? I'm in the middle of a sentence. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say that it was a justification. I thought it was funny that you guys, right, are so fucking willing to like spend hours of your life talking to me and critiquing me about this. But whenever this happens to me in this server, you're silent.
Well,
Get fucked.
I don't think that's true. But I mean,
Okay,
like,
well,
all
I
I
think
said
you're lying.
was that
Too easy.
the way it should have happened was, Alex, I think you should apologize.
I shouldn't have been
to Declan,
personally
and then
insulted,
now that you're cooled
and
off,
I
you
shouldn't have
probably
personally
should have been
insulted
like,
him.
Yeah,
I
will,
agree.
and then that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, I'm totally cooled off now. You're right.
I can kind of empathize with the sentiment. I don't see that stuff happening here, but I understand how infuriating it can be. What Alex is saying somewhat aligns with my experience. It can feel like there's nowhere to go where you're safe, but
There is no. I mean, like, if you honestly
I
think
don't
like
think-
you're safe
I
from
don't-
being insulted like that here, Brenda, I mean, you're
yeah,
not.
I don't think it's. But I kind of feel like this is a safe place for me.
Safer, right? Not safer, right? You're still at risk of having insults like that, and they have happened in the past. Brenda, you are especially are a character here that's criticized by this community, right? There's
Well,
constant people, like TERFs included, that'll sit
not
here
recently.
and
Not
criticize.
not recently. Not in quite some time.
Maybe not to your face, but I guarantee you lots of conversations happen behind your back.
Well,
Well, we can't police that. I mean,
Okay, then you can't police me. Sorry.
you didn't do something behind someone's back. You did.
Right,
you
I did it
said
to their
his
face. Much better.
Yeah, so we can police that.
So all I wanted to indicate is
You should encourage people saying shit like that to their face more instead of talking behind their back. I mean, I feel like that's much more respectable.
the emotions are real, and I can understand that, and I have felt that way too. But I'm not seeing it in Tom's server at this time. But I mean, your experience is your experience. It's not mine.
Thank you.
Well, the type
Yeah,
of
Tom just said
insult-
over and over again he thinks I'm lying. So if that's where he wants to end this, well, he said I don't think that's true. So he either thinks I'm misremembering or I'm lying, one of the two. But if that's honestly what you want to fucking think, be my guest. If you think that I am just bringing that I'm just making shit up and I'm not actually recalling events that have happened here in your server in the past, where I've been at the center of an attack on some homophobia virtues, then you're wrong, and I'm sorry, but ignorant too. That's sad, especially someone who'd like probably say they're an ally, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, you said you hate me, so definitely not. I mean, I couldn't consider an ally.
An ally of the LGBT community, Tom. And to correct, I don't hate you. I hate what you do sometimes. Kind of like how you hate what I do.
I
But
love Tom.
I hate what you do sometimes.
I love
like
Dave.
when the whole
JJ.
like you have to understand, Tom. I'm used to this by now, right? I'm used to being attacked by people and me reacting away, and you either being silent, right, or like critiquing me for something I said, right? Like the time where I.
Do you see what he's done now? So he's completely, and Skinny Pete brings this up later in the conversation. He's completely tried to change the conversation over from what he said and what he did over to himself. Now it's about Alex. Now it's about how Alex supposedly gets treated like shit in the server. What the fuck do I have to do with that? I'm barely in the goddamn server in the first place. Let alone treat him like shit. What, we've had some arguments. I've challenged his ideas. What the fuck do I have to do with what some other person in the server or people in the server do to him? What now, and this is basically what his argument boils down to. I get treated like shit, therefore I can treat Declan like shit. What the fuck is that?
Felt I was being doxxed. That was a time where you did that. And I'm sure a couple others. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sorry if you're surprised by my reaction to what you're saying, but I'm used to you discounting my feelings. So yeah, this is the reaction a person like that usually gets.
Defensive?
Well, if you're trying to come to me, Skinny, and tell me that you're behaving in some way for X reason, if I call you a liar, do you think that I'm like interested in like moving forward, or do you think I'm
Do
interested
you
in
understand
just
that
shutting
this
you
is your
down?
typical reaction to everything?
Well, but then that's even further to say, why would I be lying? Well, why would I be lying about my typical reaction to this type of behavior?
No, the point is your typical reaction is unacceptable.
My typical like that's
Yeah,
really
you
funny coming from
overreact.
you. That's really funny coming from you.
Maybe.
Really funny.
Doesn't matter.
It does matter. What, you can't take your own critiques?
What are you talking about?
You said that this is
Are
my
we going to
typical
talk about me or are we
reaction
going to talk about
everything.
you?
Yeah, Skinny Pete overreacts too. Right? I fucking tell him on the reg.
Okay, ban him. The fuck?
Well, we
He doesn't
actually
stop.
No, but the point is, first of all, look, I told you it was due to you saying that you have no plans at all to even try, and then your solution was
You
deal
don't
with
either.
It.
You don't have any
Well, not-
plans to try either, Tom. So why would I?
To
Why
try
would I
what?
try? Did you attempt, or would you ever attempt to stop Declan from making insults like that? No. So why
No,
would
I
I?
don't- I when he said that you were acting like a child and talking over him, that didn't even move my needle.
No. I'm sorry. He said I was acting like a child because of like some realization surprise comment I made.
Yeah, I think you did the thing where you go like some variation of, and you didn't do this exactly, but a variation of, which is essentially the same of like, oh fuck, something like that, right? And that's what he was
Incorrect.
talking about.
And when he called me an idiot, do you think that is what he was talking about too?
When he called you an idiot, he was just calling you an idiot.
Oh, right. Okay.
What? I mean, are
Did
you
you
that
think that you
offended
should
by
stop
that?
in to stop him there? Was that too far? That wasn't too far. That was
No.
just a
I
comment
don't think
about
it
my
was.
like intelligence. That wasn't anything too far. So let's see. Let's take it a little bit farther. If I were to say like his hairline's receding, right? Ha ha ha. Is that too far?
I don't know.
What about he's overweight? He might have diabetes. That's probably a little too far, right?
Yeah,
Are
probably.
you just giving insults now?
No, I'm just trying to paint an image.
It
to
seems
Tom
like you're
that
just giving
there is no
insults now.
fucking there is no
You're trying to,
fucking
like-
line.
You
There
know
is no
what?
fucking line.
You know
There's
what,
just,
Alex?
It's just arbitrary virtues that he has.
I think yesterday, if you had just said to Declan that
Here we go, more dog
you
piling.
don't let let me just
Yeah, I've
like,
been fucking listening. Keep
No, what
dogpiling.
I don't mean to hurt you by saying this. I'm just saying if you had, for example, like you're trying to give examples of hairlines and shit like that and other insults that would be quote unquote acceptable. I think the only thing that would have made a difference, last night would have been if you had just said, Declan, you're really hard to talk to. You know that? You didn't have to invoke his wife and his divorce and stuff. You just stick to the issue. You know what I'm saying? You could have insulted him if you considered an insult in
Okay,
the
now
same
go
way
to
without
him.
invoking
Now go to
anybody
him
else.
and give him the
So,
same critique.
and it was
Thank you.
related. Well, it was related to how you were speaking. You know, how you were talking, you were doing your, dramatic Alex talk.
You mean how I always am? You mean how I always behave? You mean how I always speak? You mean the
Yeah.
consistent behavior
And then
I've
the night
constantly
before
put you
that-
fucks around for the last year that you're 100% able to predict and expect?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you-
that
you see-
behavior. So it's like maybe the kind of behavior that you people are eliciting out of me, maybe you should think before you fucking act.
Yeah, it's everyone else's fault, Alex. It's everyone else's fault that you say shit like that. That you tell a guy who is just freshly separated from his ex-wife of 11 years that his behavior is indicative of her being happy when he divorced her for cheating. Yeah, it's my fault. It's the server's fault. You don't know how to take responsibility, dude. You're not mature enough yet, obviously, to know what it means to take responsibility for your own actions.
Right? If you're like, if you guys honestly can sit here right now and say, if you do this,
Just-
this,
Calm
and this
down,
to
bud.
Alex,
Just-
he's
just
probably going
take
to
it as
react
a-
this way.
just
Why the
take
fuck
it-
would you do them and then critique me after?
Calm
if you
down,
know
buddy.
I'm going to react that way.
It was
This just
Declan
goes to
personally.
show-
He
Scammy,
doesn't.
scammy.
He doesn't have to accept it.
Except
Alex.
what?
Declan doesn't have to accept the way you talk. He doesn't have to.
What do you mean
Just like
accept
you,
it?
he doesn't have to accept the fact that you sometimes raise your voice and get dramatic and get.
I don't
dramatic.
understand what you're saying.
Well, you're saying you guys take it or leave it. Basically, that's what it sounded like you were saying. This is how I've always been. This is how I always am. I haven't changed. Nothing is different. And I'm just saying that Declan doesn't have to accept it just because you think the room has, and as a whole, doesn't mean
Well,
that
I don't
Declan
have
has
to accept Declan. I
So
don't know what
just
the fuck
take
you're
it
saying
as a
right
learning.
now.
Take it as a learning experience.
That
Okay.
Declan's a fucking retard, and
Yeah,
I'll continue
just
to insult
learn
him if
who
he
Declan
insults
is
me.
and don't
Yeah.
talk to him like that. And Tom has also mentioned to you that he doesn't like the yelling kind of, tone of voice. So, maybe we're, just take it as a learning experience and just try and incorporate it into, the way you behave. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just suggesting. I know I sound like your mom now. I'm sorry, but just maybe you could say to Declan, I'm sorry I said that, but I still think you're
I'm not
real
sorry.
you're real hard to talk to, and I don't like talking
Not sorry
to you.
at all.
You could still
Declan
say
has
that.
been the antichrist
alright.
of the server for me since I arrived.
You mean I challenge your ideas every once in a while? Would I disagree with you every once in a while on shit? That makes me the antichrist of the server for you? What a fucking joke.
Well, then stay away from him.
What do you mean stay away from him? What does that mean?
It means
you mean
don't
leave
interact.
the room when he comes in?
No, just
Don't
don't
talk to him.
interact.
I'm
Just
sorry.
don't interact.
I'm sorry. Okay. Next
You have
time
to.
this
You have to be
happens,
quiet for the moments that Declan is speaking. Alex has to step aside and stand in the periphery. That's what that means. Okay, it
thanks.
means you don't have to interact. You can let other people interact. You can let a lull happen. You can let it be dead quiet.
Here's the
Just
funny
stay
thing.
away.
You guys are the ones with the problem, not me. You stop
okay, now I-
interacting. Fuck.
But you're the problem.
But it was
your
yelling.
problem,
It
not
was your
mine. It's not
yelling.
me as a problem for me. You're the fucking problem for you.
We know that you're very dramatic and you speak very loudly sometimes, and you've been gently prompted to try and control it, try and mellow out a little bit, but Declan just couldn't take it. I mean, what you said to him was, your version of like, oh yeah, that's full of shit, but it was your version of doing it. It
Right.
irked him. So come on, this is simple, Alex. This is really
Okay,
simple.
that's fine. I'm not critiquing
So let's end
his
it.
insults. I'm not critiquing his insults, right? I accepted them and I responded to them.
False. You are critiquing my insults, right? Because you're using it as a justification. What did you say before? Time and time again. He said, you're an idiot. He said, I was an 11-year-old child. Right? Yeah, you are. Again, you're flip-flopping back and forth between positions because you're backed into a corner. You can't say on one hand, it didn't bother you, and then say it did bother you, and then say, well, I'm not critiquing his insults. You are, because supposedly that's the justification, right?
You fucks are the ones with the issue, not
You're the
me.
issue.
Fuck. If you don't want Declan to insult you, maybe you should. I'm not using it as a justification.
No, I didn't say insult. I said he is your, what did you call him? Your Achilles heel? Whatever the fuck you said. You said he's
Antichrist. He's
okay, whatever. Don't interact with him. Why is it so hard to just zip it when he's talking? Why do you have to interact with him? Or if he starts interacting with you, then just, say, I'm done talking. Can you control that? Can you resist the chance to take the mic? You see what I'm saying?
When somebody insults me,
It's easy.
I get excited. I don't like, maybe I should step down.
I personally don't mind the way you are, but it irks a lot of people. So I'm,
Do you think I personally mind?
just learn.
There's things about Tom that irk me that I think should disqualify him for being a server owner, but I'm not bitching about them. I don't fucking sit him down and talk to him like this. We all do shit that upsets us. Like a fucking big deal.
Like Joe said last night, Sunseed said last night, he realized that you didn't like it, so he stopped. So maybe you can do that. Just learn who people are, Alex.
He
That's what you gotta
realized I
do.
didn't like it
Can you
after
just-
I started making fun of him for his drug
Now you know.
dependencies.
Just take it as a learning experience and let's
oh my
move
God.
forward.
What's the point of talking to you fucking people if you don't listen? What's the fucking point?
We've
Tell
listened
me.
to you for 2 days now.
What did I just say, Shay?
You said a lot of stuff while I was talking, so I wasn't focusing 100%. You want to repeat it?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're going to stop right there for part 1. Part 2 will be up very, very soon, if not instantly. But just a recap here, Alex, learn how to take responsibility for your fucking actions. Stop being a child. Stop being a narcissist. Learn how to take fucking responsibility for your actions. You say time and time again later on in the conversation that you took responsibility and defended the actions. No, you didn't. Number 1, you didn't provide a valid defense. Number 2, you didn't take responsibility for your actions. Learn how to be an adult. Okay? So I'll see you guys soon with part 2, and I hope you enjoy it.